Okay, let's see, we can do the roll call
Mr. John Bailey,
here.
Miss Jessica Bludgett, Mr. Paul Culver,
Here.
and Mr. Simpson.
Okay, we have a quorum, we're all here. Let's see, we have the introduction of the city staff.
Kim Flaherty, Project Manager, Permits and Licensing.
John Cecil, Building Rehabilitation Inspector. Alexander Garcia, Combination Inspector.
All right, new face.
Yep.
Welcome. We need an approval of the minutes from April 15, 2025.
Move to accept the minutes as written.
We have approval, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. New case, Case A, BP 2022-0036, 410 Arroyo Lane, appeal of notice of prohibited occupancy. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, actually, I wonder if we can go ahead and do the second one first, since that's already kind of resolved, and then I'm not sure we're going to be going with the first one. If we could just move the agenda and handle the other case, that probably
No, we can do that.
be efficient.
So we're going to decide, but still need to swear them in.
Oh, well, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And that's the inspectors, for the record.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do case B first. BP 2019-0069, 645 McCormick Street, appeal of notice of condemnation.
Then we call John Cecil to the stand.
John Cecil, Building Rehabilitation Inspector. Here I'm going to show you some pictures of 645 McCormick Avenue, or Street. These pictures were taken on 8/23/2019. Here it's showing the property. You can see there's roof damage to the left-hand side of the structure. This is from the street from 645 McCormick, right out front. As you can see, as the roof is lifting up there. Another photo. Same photo, just closer. This is as you're walking up to the property. Another one. It appears that a tree limb or a tree went into this roof at that time. Now this is 4 years later. This is 7/17/2023. They went on there and put a temporary roof to try to protect. It's another photo. And you can see it was just as a temporary to protect the inside of the structure. As you can see, there's damage there. There's a lot of damage to the roof in that area of the structure. It shows where the tarps were also that were on there, that the wind has come through and taken off at different times. Another photo. That's just showing the temporary roof there again. That's another photo of it. The same. Another one. Just showing you a close-up of what was there when they put the temporary roof over. Now these are on 5/30/2025. See, there's not been any change to the property. It's pretty much the same. Same photo. I tried to take the photos in the same spots to where it shows. Still the damage, you can tell that the roof's been on there for a while because the wood's already changing colors from previously when they did the temporary. These photos are all on that left-hand side of the structure from the street. And this is the last photo here of this structure.
And John, I know the board knows you, but nevertheless, go ahead and just tell them who you are, your credentials for
Okay.
being able to make the determination that was made.
Okay. John Cecil, Building Rehabilitation Inspector. I am a building inspector, commercial building inspector, fire inspector, asbestos building inspector. I do go out to these projects the properties are abandoned or there's homeless living in them, and we make the determination if these structures are unsafe or uninhabitable for people to be in at that time.
And Mr. Chair, just for the record, I'm Anthony Jackson, attorney for the city, deputy city attorney, and counsel for the staff as to these matters. The applicant is Ms. Morgan, who is the new owner. I wanted to establish the factual basis. My understanding from her is it's her intent to just go ahead and stipulate to these facts and agree to do a demolition. So if we can bring Ms. Morgan forward, I think we could be able to proceed with this case.
Great, thank you. We need to swear her in.
Yes, I would. And ma'am, I need you to state your name so I can swear you in.
Karen Morgan.
Okay, and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And any one of these mics, get on one side or the other, I think would be better for our technicians. There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we previously spoke, and you also spoke with staff. Your name and how are you related to the property?
Well, I took up the property after my sister passed away. She
Okay.
left it to me.
So you're the current owner of the property,
Right.
and you saw the pictures that Mr. Cease just presented,
Yes,
and you agree that that's the condition of the property at this time?
that it is.
And you have, what is your intentions as it relates to the condemnation and demolition order? Do you intend on demolishing the property yourself?
Yes, I have someone to take care of it.
Okay, and in fact, have you already initiated the permitting process?
I have. They put in the application. It's in progress now.
Okay. Speaking with staff, I believe our desire is for the board to just make a finding that the appeal is denied and just order that it be demolished within the next 60 days. Or of course, the city will be able to come in and demolish it
Right.
themselves.
I was going to ask what the time frame was.
Yes.
So 60 days.
Yeah, so that's our request.
acceptable, yeah.
Okay.
I
And I don't
think-
know if there's any opposition or opinion as to, from Ms. Morgan regarding that. Do you oppose that or you agree?
Approve.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we need a motion to uphold the condemnation with the homeowner doing the demolition within 60 days, otherwise the city will. So do we have, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? All in favor? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And I guess Ms. Flaherty follow up with you?
Staff's good with that.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, back to case A. BP 2022-0036, 410 Arroyo Lane, appeal of notice of prohibited occupancy.
And the city will call John.
John Cecil again.
John Cecil, Building Rehabilitation Inspector. Okay, I'm going to show you some photos here of 410 Aurora Lane.
John, what I'm gonna do, since this is a new case, just so we have the record clear, just go ahead and say who you are, your credentials, and then you can move on from there.
Okay, understood. John Cecil, Building Rehabilitation Inspector, City of Daytona Beach. Commercial Building Inspector, Fire Inspector.
And how long?
Been here for 8 years, 8 years.
Okay,
8 years with the city.
go on.
Oh, okay. And what we do, we look out for, I'm going to say, abandoned structures, unsafe structures, and we're going to make the determination, on if it's safe for someone to live in or occupy.
And that's your regular function?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Daily function in this job? And you've done this many, many times?
Many, many, many times, yes.
And when we say that, what does that mean? Tens?
That means within the last 8 years, we presented numerous cases to the board, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, you can proceed.
Okay. Okay, and like I said, this is going to be 410 Aurora Lane. I'm going to show you some photos. Okay, these photos were taken on 6/1/22. As you can see, this is showing it in the top of the structure. There was no windows or anything upstairs. They were doing some remodel at this structure. This is showing piping that was thrown down on the ground or has come off to the side. There's a dumpster showing where they were taking items out. And this is a picture of where they were installing windows within the structure. And at this time, there was no permit, is when we posted this property. There were no permits on this structure at this time. Here's another photo, and a photo of my posting right there. This is on the other side, showing of the install of the windows. And some of the windows where they did take out the structure, say the far right, where it is black there, they were covering that up. They were filling those in, took the old windows out, and they were putting in other windows in different areas. The same as here. This is showing the upstairs, but there is no windows at that time. Another photo of the upstairs on the other side. This is showing where they were filling in where the other windows were at the time. There's another photo of the back there. Another photo of the other side. There's a photo of the posting of the notice of the address. Okay, these photos were taken on 12/15/23. As you can see, everything was filled in at that time. Let me check.
Okay. If I could just interrupt you one second. So those were filled in. Was there permit requirements for the work that was done?
The building permit application was submitted
Okay.
on 7/14/22.
Okay.
So these pictures were taken in 23, and the permit application was applied for in 22.
Okay.
7/14/22.
So were they permitted at the time of the inspection? I mean, of the installation, or do you know?
At the time of when I first took the photos, there was no permit on file.
Okay.
Since then, since these pictures here, there was a permit.
Okay. All right. Go on.
This photos was just showing that he had a 6-foot fence in the front of the structure and that it was for sale, which was not permitted. Now, this is photos on 5/30/25. The structure looks the same. Nothing has changed since then. It's just showing you an area view. This is the Land Development Code Section 91C. And this is talking about the floodplain. So I'll let Kim get back into this, but I'm going to continue on showing you a couple photos. This is the elevation certificates. There's going to be two here. It's going to be 2 pages. That's one part. You got one part here, the second part of it, and then the second one here with the second part of it, that one. So if we can have Kim come up and we'll speak about the floodplain.
Okay.
Hello, Kim Flaherty, Project Manager, Permits and Licensing. I'm going to put the code section back up. So the appeal today is on the notice of prohibited occupancy. They are being prohibited occupancy on this structure because they failed to meet the code requirements. And our land development code requires that when you renovate a structure exceeding 50% of the value, you have to meet all code requirements. Our code requires that the structure be elevated to a minimum 12 inches above the base flood. And that's in that section. If you will turn to the next one. So this is the prior owner. When we realized he reached his values, we required a elevation certificate to be submitted. When he finally, there was a delay in getting that from him. When we got that, we determined that the base flood was 8 feet for this area. Go to the next page. You'll see the finished floor of this house is at 6.35. What that means is he can't proceed unless he brings a plan to elevate the structure. It must be raised to meet the code requirements, whether it's raising the structure or demolishing and starting over. Again, had all this been submitted prior to commencement of construction, we could have caught this before the house got to this point. This was discussed numerous times with the prior owner. If you go to the next page, we were aware that the house was for sale again, so we posted to the prior owner. I did get a call from a closing agent at the closing table requesting the status of the permit. I advised her we couldn't proceed with the permit because of the elevation issues, went into detail with that. The prior owner then came to our office, and I believe the next day the new prospective buyers came in. We went over the elevation issues with them as well. The current owners also obtained an elevation certificate. Again, they're going to show an 8-foot base flood elevation. And if you go to their second page, I believe theirs shows a 6.15 finished floor elevation. So we discussed with the potential buyers perhaps holding off on closing until they resolve the elevation issues. They advised that they had a bond for, they liked this house, they wanted to proceed, but they were advised prior to closing of the elevation issues and chose to proceed. So we cannot complete the permit. We cannot issue based on building code and Daytona Beach Land Development Code. We cannot issue a certificate of completion. We cannot issue a certificate of occupancy, and therefore the structure cannot be occupied. Every person does have a right to challenge the building official's determination, which is why we are here, but the structure is not code compliant, and we cannot issue any kind of occupancy documents.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
No questions. Mr. Urquhart?
Glenn Urquhart, Chief Building Official. So as the information has been presented to you by Kim Flaherty and John Cecil, per our codes that we have in place through the Land Development Code as well as the Florida Building Code, it doesn't meet the requirements to issue a certificate of occupancy. So that's why we're here, so they can appeal that decision, but they're basically just under the BFE, we're looking at 2 feet. But with our rules being 1 foot above the BFE, you're almost 3 feet below. And because they don't meet that requirement, that's a big portion of being able to issue the certificate of occupancy, which we can't do.
And if they were to occupy, what happens?
They'd be unlawfully occupying. And at that time, you can, through the International Property Maintenance Code, if you're unlawfully occupying a building, then you can go through the eviction process.
Condemnation.
And further on that, they could challenge with the city commission, as far as, and that would be if, however it happens today, whatever the determination is, if they don't get the determination they want, they could challenge with the commission. I don't have that authority to override the land development code.
And of course, they could be subject to code enforcement that would have fines accruing potentially against the property as well.
Yes, sir.
And any other legal remedy, of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for Glenn?
I got a couple. Is there a question on this appeal? Is it about whether they tripped the 50% threshold to lose their grandfather status?
No, not on that. There's nothing would grandfather them. And they were, Ms. Flaherty talked with them in our lobby, explaining all the rules that applied to it before they even made the purchase.
Right.
But it would not be grandfathered in.
Well, it exceeds 50% of the assessed valuation, I think. Is it 50% of the assessed valuation?
50%.
Then you got to bring it into the current code.
Correct.
Is there a question of whether or not they tripped that 50% threshold? I mean, because there was nothing mentioned about how much money was spent on the repairs, what the assessed value was, and I didn't know if that's a conceded issue and we're appealing something else.
Yeah, it's more of the appeal of, as far as the not meeting the base flood elevation, because it is new construction and it hasn't changed hands. So with the construction that they were doing, as far as inside and everything, to get you the exact numbers, did you have those, Kim? But
I was just curious.
And because it has changed hands, I see where you're going. Like if somebody had been there 50 years, they're still living there, we're just not going to go into houses and tell them.
Well, if somebody if their house is assessed at 100,000 and they spend 15,000 on renovations, they don't have to bring it up to current code, right?
That's correct.
But if they spend 30,000, or no, 55,000.
Then it triggers it,
and
yes.
so, but we didn't say anything about what the numbers were. What were the assessed values, how much they spent, and it may be something that's not a question, but.
Yes,
and
in this situation, it's more of a change of hands, and once somebody sells the property, then at that point, with the construction going on, and it originally was condemned, and then
Right.
they came through, and then they got the permit because they were doing work without a permit. And then it's never, ever achieved building final status. So there's been no final building inspection done on the building. So as far as the amount of work and everything that was actually done inside, we could get you those numbers as far as for that.
But this was a renovation, not new construction, right?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't there also, maybe a different issue, but federal flood insurance? If you permit homes under the minimum flood elevation, doesn't that create an issue with the federal government for the city? I just kind of have this recollection of a building official in Ponce going to jail over that. If you allow a house to be permitted below the minimum flood elevation, it's just not a city regulation, it goes also to the federal government.
Yeah, and ours, the big thing that it ties into is on the insurance premiums and everything. It affects that determination with the city, where if you allow something like that to be accepted, then it affects the rest of the citizens of Daytona Beach as far as what the insurance rating is. Our insurance rating would plummet if you allowed stuff like that to happen. So that's why we try to follow the strict guidelines of FEMA.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's more than just a city regulation. And this piece of property, there's a bigger implication when you permit structures below the minimum floor elevation. There are ramifications that just go beyond this property not being in compliance.
Yes, sir. You're
And
correct on
Mr.
that.
Simpson, I think I think you just mentioned that FEMA, there's a FEMA element to this as well.
100%, yeah.
Okay. And would any of these, I think they've talked, so that, based on what Ms. Flattery said, the buyers were on notice of all these issues, but just out of curiosity, these notice of condemnation and demolition order, like the one that was done in June 30th, 22, were those recorded in public records? Would they have been pulled up in a title search, any of these things? They weren't in public records? I wasn't sure, okay.
And they did, as far as when the original owner that we were dealing with, he came down significant in price to sell the house. No.
So is this the you're talking about YVCD renovation? That was the original?
Correct.
Yeah, I looked up the property purchases and it was changed hands quite a bit.
Yes.
20, and it was like 90, 95, then it went to 215, and it was bouncing around some.
Yes, and I was present in the lobby when Kim Flaherty was talking to them as far as telling them all of the codes that were associated with purchasing the property and what direction to take. But the transaction still went forward.
Yeah, it looks like in August of 21, it sold for $65,000. Then in February 17th of 22, it sold for $90,000. February 18th of 22, it sold for $97,900. And then on April 2nd of this year, it sold for $224,000.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Yeah. There you go. I'm assuming the purchasers did not apply for Elevate Volusia, where you could, they paid 75% of the cost to elevate a house. And I know that window closed about a month ago. I don't know if there's any other possible avenues, but I mean, the land use code is pretty specific as far as that goes. I don't see, it's not like there's a gray area here. That's
The
unfortunate.
applicant.
I want to ask the applicant.
If you want to speak.
Questions.
Yes.
First, I think I want to ask questions of city staff.
Right.
Maybe ask if they have questions,
Right.
and they'll do their presentation.
Okay. Do any of the applicants want to ask questions of the city staff?
Yes, can we proceed?
Yes, you may.
If you have any questions for city staff, and then you'll do a presentation separate. So do you have any questions for city staff?
Yes,
Once you can kind of, so just so it's on the microphone, could you just come up to the podium? Yeah. You have to swear them in?
Yeah. So I just need your name and have you swear. Name?
Raul Hernandez.
Okay, and you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Okay, and your relationship to the property?
Yeah, the property owners, we together, don't give me half of them.
Okay.
So the question will be, obviously, we were purchased of good faith, but we never get advice about the closing, about this issue. Did you guys approach the title office before the purchase?
Kim Flaherty, Permits and Licensing. The title agent called my office the day she said everyone was at the title company. So it's on the buyer's due diligence to search the city records and do a request. Anything that's requested, we provide. Again, the title company, let's see, I think I have the name here.
Yeah, we have the name.
Maria Galletti from American Title Corporation in Orlando contacted me. Again, she said it was the day of the closing, requesting information on the permit. At that time, the elevation issue was explained to her.
All right, we have a certificate of FEMA that with opinion that the elevation is good for the property. I don't know, is this will be a vote of your decision? How, I don't know how we deal with this, but we did a due diligence when we purchased the property. The title search was approved, and actually we checked here that for the permits, everything was, we never realized about it. And the search, title search again was approved, and the seller provided us this certificate. They mentioned about the elevation thing, but they say that it was approved by the FEMA.
So the seller was advised of the Daytona Beach Land Development Code requirements. He was advised of that months ago, in email and in person and in telephone, so the seller was aware. And that statement talks about the base flood. Again, our land development code sets the requirements for the minimum 12 inches above base flood.
And what
And
about
the permit was still open when the title company, when you searched that at closing, that permit was still open. It was not finalized, which is what triggered the call from the title company to my office.
And what about the certificate for FEMA?
That's for your information. It does not satisfy our land development code requirements of base flood plus a minimum of 12 inches.
Okay, no further question.
Thank you, sir.
Tim, can I ask you a quick question? Didn't you say earlier that you met with these buyers and explained this to them? Was that
Yes.
before the purchase or after the purchase?
I'm not sure if I got conflicting information as to whether they'd actually released the funds yet. It was after the call from the title agent.
Okay.
Pretty quick after, probably the next day, the prior owner came in after the call from the title agent, so I'm not sure what happened at the closing table. And then within a day or so from that, the current owners came in to talk to me. And yes, we went over everything, the code requirements, their elevation certificate versus his elevation certificate, our requirements and elevation of the structure and the potential costs associated with elevation of the structure.
And did you say previously that they made the comment that they wanted to proceed with the house?
Yes.
So that,
When explaining the costs, the potential cost of elevation, they told me they really liked the house, they wanted it anyway.
so the way that was said, would that infer to you that they hadn't closed yet? Or how was that presented to you? Is that's
That they knew what they were getting into is the way that I took it.
Okay. But you don't have notes on the exact day that conversation took place?
No, we'd
Okay.
have to pull video from our lobby.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. You want them to make their statement?
Can we proceed with the presentation?
Yeah, are you done with questions from the
Yeah.
staff? Yes, okay, now you can, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, come on up,
We'll
sir.
stay here.
Okay. Whoever's going to be speaking for the presentation will have to be sworn in.
Hi, good morning. My name is,
Okay, I need name for each one who will be speaking.
my name is Roberto Atencio.
Okay, you got that?
I am not speaking English, I am speaking Spanish. This is my son, Karina Atencio, is interpreter. My wife, Elizabeth Parra, Atencio.
Will they be speaking?
No.
Just you and you.
Yeah, he gonna speak and she gonna
I'm
translate.
gonna translate because he doesn't speak English.
Okay,
I'm his daughter.
okay.
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 All right, so let everyone who we may hear from, okay? Okay, you swear to tell the truth, swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, I do.
And that's the same to you, sir.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Están juramentando la
Okay.
verdad.
I think that's good enough.
Me das pausas para traducirte. So he's gonna speak, then he's gonna pause, and I'm gonna translate for him.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nosotros compramos esta casa para que fuese nuestra casa principal con la mejor intención, de buena fe.
So we purchased the house with the intention of being our primary home for our family with good faith.
Okay. La compramos a través de un crédito de FSA, solicitándolo a un banco. Se cumplieron todos los trámites normales, todos los trámites legales.
So we purchased the house through a bank with a FHA. So the bank lent the money to buy the house, and we always made the due diligence to provide the bank with all the permits and all the due process for the purchase of the house and the approval of this. ¿Cómo se dice préstamo?
Alone.
For the loan, for the bank loan to purchase the house.
Okay. Se mandó a hacer una inspección a la propiedad de forma particular, que era lo que se exigía. Luego el banco realizó una tasación para poder otorgar el crédito.
So we made a personal inspection that we personally asked for an inspection on the house, and also the bank did an inspection to approve the loan to purchase the house.
El banco lo único que emitió fue que la casa se encontraba en una zona de inundación, por tanto requería dos seguros. Uno, el seguro de la casa, y segundo, un seguro de inundación.
So the only thing the bank said after the inspection was that the house needed two type of insurance, one for the house and one for the flood, because it was in a flood zone. And we applied for the two type of insurance, and we did that.
Okay. La casa de títulos se comunicó con la ciudad para verificar si la casa tenía algún tipo de problema, y la ciudad no indicó a la casa de títulos que existía algún problema para poder realizar la compra.
So according to the title company that we used to, they did communicate with the city of Daytona to ask about the records of the house. And according to the title company, it was okay to purchase the house.
Al día siguiente de realizar la compra, okay, se obtuvo la comunicación de que la casa no era habitable.
So the day after we purchased the house, we received the communication of the inhabitant of the house, but it was the day after we purchased the house. Again, the title company approved the purchase of the house.
Como lo planteamos en nuestra carta de apelación, okay, nosotros a partir del mes de abril estamos pagando alquiler y estamos pagando una cuota de un préstamo.
So, as we state on our appealing letter, since April, we're paying the loan to the bank, and we cannot have it at the house. We cannot live in it.
Ya hemos pagado 3 cuotas del préstamo otorgado para la compra de la casa y no la hemos podido habitar. Nuestra familia no cuenta con los recursos completos para poder pagar un alquiler y pagar una cuota de una propiedad ya adquirida.
So currently, our family is paying mortgage on another house, and we're also paying the loan for the bank for this house. Currently, we don't have the financial abilities to pay for these two type of mortgage. So the house that we rent and the house that is in Daytona that we're paying the mortgage to the bank.
Por todo lo antes expuesto, solicitamos a esta honorable junta poder revisar el caso y ver la posibilidad de quitarnos esa orden de inhabitabilidad de la propiedad, por favor.
So for all that we explained on this presentation and also on our letter of appeal, we asked you to revise the case and see if we can have it at the house to live on.
Es todo.
That's all.
Thank you.
And you-
Does anyone have any questions?
Have y'all checked the cost of raising the roof at the bottom?
I'm gonna translate for him.
So, que si ya averiguaste el precio de levantar la casa.
Sí, averiguamos y nos dicen que para elevar la casa serían de $8,000 a $10,000.
So we have, he didn't say that, but I know this. So we talked with a local engineer to try to elevate the house, and it's $8,000 to $10,000 to elevate the house.
Y hay que tomar en cuenta también que la casa fue fabricada en el año de 1924. La casa tiene más de 100 años, por eso es riesgoso el trabajo de elevación de la propiedad.
This local engineer also stated that the house was built on 1924, 101 years ago, and he advised against elevating. for security reasons for the house.
But in addition, I don't know if we can approach this certificate. That certificate showed that from the FEMA that elevation, there is no concern about the elevation. So that was his confused. In order from they say that we require to elevate the home, FEMA say is in their opinion with an engineer here say that it's in good standard.
Unfortunately, FEMA is not the city of Daytona Beach. You know, the requirement is a little different. You know, as far as what the title company said, all they're doing, a title search is just ownership. It has nothing to do with land issues, and that's why they called the city, because they saw the open permit. They do a permits search. And that's been an issue for many years, actually, unclosed permits. Potentially, yes. Because that's something,
This before the day of closing.
right.
But if title made them aware of it and then they still chose to close, then title insurance may not help them.
A
But
ti la casa de título te dijo lo del problema con la elevación antes de comprar la casa?
No.
He was not informed about the elevation before he purchased the house.
I mean, I don't know if that would be for $8,000. I don't know. I don't know the solution to this. This is a really hard one because
Está diciendo que es una situación muy difícil que no sabe lo que podrían hacer en este caso.
We can request, because I believe it's nobody's fault here. They have the opinion that they need elevation from the city. We have a good faith purchaser, so an extension, something to figure out what we're gonna do. Even lawsuit against the title office, or we don't know. We have to search the legal action we have for this matter. But give us a time frame in order to figure out what we're gonna do. Obviously, they pay rent at the same time with mortgage, so it's a hardship situation for the family. Again, we were in good faith for this. It was a surprise. We trust in the title office that everything was in good with all permits. They say yes. We put out title insurance. They say that they do the title search. Was approved. There were no concerns. And then this surprise show up.
Well, it doesn't appear to be an issue with the city of Daytona Beach. It's more of an issue with the seller, as far as the state of Florida requires advising of all known defects or unknown defects that they know about, which they would have known about the elevation. As Jess pointed out, that's something that title insurance may cover as far as a remedy. I know the Elevate Volusia did expire, but that, they would pay 75% of elevating a property. And my house is almost 100 years old. I'd love to raise it, but I have the same issue. My house wouldn't withstand the trauma, shall we say, to lift.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if we prove, if we make the numbers and we prove that we didn't surpass the 50% of the money, like I understood that is we need to apply the new conduct when it's more than 50% of the renovation of the appraisal of the house, right? That we need to be, like, because in the area, there are houses that are on the same or less feet of elevation. And in my understanding, it's because they were not remodeled or whatever. If we make our numbers and we prove that it's less than 50% of the appraisal of the house, can we make an appeal on that side?
Well, you can
I don't know
always,
if
you can
I
always
explained
appeal.
myself. Oh, sorry, I
Whatever
don't know.
decision we make can be appealed,
Oh, sorry.
but it's not the appraised value, it's the assessed value, I
Okay.
believe, isn't it, Kim? Is that what the,
Sorry, I don't know how to explain mine correctly.
Kim Flaherty, Permits and Licensing. We generally go on the assessed value, but it would be the value from 2022 when the permit was pulled. It's not going to be the current
Right.
value. The value has never been challenged. If they wanted an appraisal, it would have to be an appraisal that stated the value of the structure back in 2022 when it was in the condition that you first saw. It cannot be the current value. Again, the seller, I think you got it correct, the seller was aware of this since May, so, of last year.
right, and the burden would be on,
2024.
the burden would be on that seller as well.
So the values have never, from the prior seller on, never been challenged. And again, if that was something that they wanted to do, it would have to be the value prior to the renovations.
And when they pull the permit, don't they put down the value of the work being done?
Yes,
In the
and we'd have
permit.
to audit that. They have to itemize everything that was done, all materials, all labor. I don't think that this permit went that deep into it. There were a lot of issues with this permit and that prior owner with the permit.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Currently, the property is in good condition. We invest some money inside the property. So there is no issue for occupy the property, just the elevation thing. But we also invest money to remodel the property.
Now, unfortunately, it doesn't matter how much you invest, it's still not conforming.
Just to let you know all.
Yes, no, we understand, we understand. I mean, it's what makes this a difficult case. What do you think, counsel?
To kind of be kind of blunt, if you will, about it, I know you appealed their determination, but there was no evidence presented to refute the determination of staff. So from a pure appeal standpoint, the only evidence that you have is what staff has said. This is, and I feel for them. I think they were taken advantage of personally. There may be remedies out there that could help you, but in terms of the context of this, an appeal, you didn't present a different elevation showing, competing elevations that they really were in compliance, or any other evidence that would challenge the decision by staff. This is more of an appeal of emotion, which I understand, and a hardship case. But I would be uncomfortable with this board issuing any form of remedy to allow them to stay there without staff support, because I think the ramifications of lifting this order has insurance implications for more than just this property. It goes for a large part potentially of the whole city. So it would be for staff to craft some type of resolution legally, if it's possible, instead of this board. There was no evidence to say that the staff's decision was wrong.
Right.
None has been presented. I think the remedies, title insurance, possibly a remedy, possibly going back against the seller is a remedy, and there's a reality for the bank who loaned the money. Their collateral is going down in value pretty rapidly. So they may want to step up and help in all this. I'm more interested in that the title company was made aware, because usually title insurance covers ownership issues and claims of title. They don't warrant that you get to use the property for what you want to do. But if the title company was made aware of adverse circumstances with this permit and failed to advise you of that, that might be an issue for the title company. There's disclosure issues for the seller. There's no question the seller was aware of it. And then I think the reality for the bank is if you all say, look, if I can't live in a house, I'm not paying this mortgage anymore, the bank's remedy is to go foreclose a house that nobody can live in, that isn't very good collateral for them. So they're going to be on the hook for losing a lot of money, potentially. So there is the potential to craft something here And even though the engineer says don't raise it, I think that's your only solution.
Can we receive like a permit to temporarily occupy the property until we resolve this issue?
The only way that I could advise this board that would be something to do is there would have to be something that staff came up with and said, yes, we could legally do this and it won't jeopardize FEMA funding for insurance or certifications. And if I shouldn't say I personally know, but I am aware that in Ponce Inlet several years ago, the chief building official, many years ago, when I first started working, allowed a subdivision to be built below the minimum floor elevation, and he went to jail. So I mean, the stuff is taken pretty seriously. So it's just not paying a fine or something like that, because what happens is it affects everybody's insurance. And so there's some very significant consequences for staff not following the rules. And so we got to be very careful about that. And that's why I think if there's a resolution, it's going to have to come from staff, in my opinion, not this body, because staff's decision based on the evidence presented is correct. You know, the elevation is below our elevation per our code, says what it says, and there's been no contrary evidence presented to that effect. I would say it may be worth you looking into how much of the repairs were made back in 22, what was the valuation back in 22, to see if you can remain grandfathered or vested with the old elevation. That will take some due diligence on your part. It's all public record with the city. I'm not aware of any exceptions that would prevent you from getting that. And you could do that kind of legwork, and maybe if you presented that was to staff that, you know, we were below, the repairs were below 50%, so we really shouldn't have lost the grandfathering or the vested interest in the prior elevation. Maybe that creates an opportunity, but we don't have any of that information here, so.
There is no current fine anything, right, from the current owner?
I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that this body, I don't think fines.
We don't do.
Yeah, we don't.
No, we either tear down
uphold
or amend.
Right. So there's no fines from this board.
Yeah.
Does staff know, are there code violation fines accruing at this point?
I'm unaware of any code enforcement issues with the
Okay.
property.
So there's no fines accruing at this time. But
Well, let me just say this, they still would want to make an inquiry. When you say no fines accruing, I mean, there may be, I don't know if they had to clean it up or any of those types of things. There may be very, very minimal, but there may be a lot clearance or a
Okay.
cleanup fine or something.
well, those should have come out through the sale.
I was going to
That's
say,
true.
yeah, the sale would
Okay,
have
so that's fine.
anything lien would have been.
You're right, that would have been.
Yeah. So.
Sounds good.
I think you may have some avenues. I'm just not pretty sure it's not with this board, in terms of appealing the decision that was made. I think the avenues, personal opinion is whether you can establish that you have rights to the old elevation that we talked about, or claims against the seller, and or the title company, and or going to the bank and just say, look, this is the situation we're in. You got, I don't want to get, I mean, I guess I could look it up. It's a public record. How much is your mortgage? I can look it up.
$1,625.
$106,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Staff did notify the mortgage company. We have not received a response from them
About the elevation issue?
as to the notice of prohibited occupancy.
And it was their current mortgage company?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, I got a question again. So if we, I don't know, we're thinking, we go or settle with the title office, or we have some settlement with them, and they provide the money for the elevation. And you think before a lawsuit or something. So they invest the money for the elevation. So it's possible if we just made the elevation and everything gonna be fine and we can occupy the property.
Once the elevation issue is resolved, we can complete out the permit and occupy the structure.
All right.
There's no avenue for staff to allow any kind of temporary occupancy or temporary CO. We don't have that ability.
And more so out of the point of interest and concern of the situation, I know you'll want to hear this out, but I think the board is able and willing to rule, and they can follow up with staff, and staff, I'm sure, would be straightforward in whatever options they have as relates to the city and what the city, if anything, can do in assisting. Can't guide them, but assisting them in whichever way they need.
The problem was this property was purchased to live, not for business.
Understand.
So that's
Understand.
the situation.
Right.
But we can continue with communication. We try to do our best possible. Again, acting in good faith because we cannot predict things here. And try to find money with them or something to.
Yes, staff is more than willing to work with you. We want to get you guys in the house, but we have to comply with all the rules and regulations that we have to abide by. But yeah, we would love to get them in the house. At this time, it's just the elevation has to be addressed.
Right. Yeah. That happened to my next door neighbor, actually.
We'll ask for a ruling.
Right, so it sounds like we're looking for an approval for the prohibited occupancy. Fortunately, usually when people come before us, it's to condemn and tear a property down. That's not the case here, so it's not like you have fines, it's not like you have any time period. You just can't occupy the property. So I believe that is our motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I wish you good luck in this. It's believe it or not, I'm a real estate broker. She's a real estate realtor. Paul's a builder. We see this a lot. It's very common. And sellers to deceive.
Yeah.
And again, it's whether the guy's licensed or not, doesn't matter. Any homeowner has to disclose facts known to them that's not readily observable.
They say they did close it because they provided a certificate and they say there were no lien or issues with the property.
Right, well, again, that's a lien search, and when you do a title search, they're not only looking for chain of title, going back to dirt. It has, the permit searches are a different thing. And if there's no certificate of occupancy, they never should have issued a title on that title policy, which means he couldn't have, he shouldn't have closed.
Mr. Chair, just one clarification on the finding of the board. The continued occupancy subject to the
Correct. Subject to, right.
determinations of the city.
Right, if they bring it up to the land development code, then the city will issue close out the permit and then issue
or whatever other possible
certificate of
remedy that may arise. And what I'm asking is that they not have to come back to.
No, they don't have to come back here.
If they do a remedy some way
Right.
in which they be occupy.
Right, no, that's, they don't have to come back.
But under the current status, it needs to remain unoccupied until that's remedied.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Question, sorry.
Yes.
Is there any way that we could get a written proof of the decision of the board? Is just in case we go to the bank and when we present the case, if they ask that we appeal or something, we have
Yes.
a written proof of the decision and that we are actually trying to do something about it?
Yes, Kim can definitely, because this is actually public, so it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So an actual order will be issued, and I have your email address. Once it's issued and signed by the chairman, then I'll email and mail you a copy of the order, and you can use that.
Necesito también que por favor, por escrito, me pasen las instrucciones a cuánto se debe elevar la casa, ya que eso debo pasárselo yo tanto al seguro como al banco, Porque si existe algún problema al momento de yo elevar la casa, voy a tener un problema con el banco.
¿Pero qué le quieres preguntar exactamente?
No, que me pase por escrito las instrucciones de elevación de la casa.
Eso está en el. So we can find the the land code that states that we have to elevate the house to. It's online. Can we find it just in case something happened with the house when we try to elevate? We can like show the bank and the insurance that we had to elevate the house, or where can we find that?
I'll email you a section of the code. The
Yeah,
blurb
it's
that
a
was up
pretty
there,
thick
I'll send
code,
that to
so-
your email as well.
Thank you.
She'll send you
Thank
just that one particular.
I think it's in that letter too.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right, I think I did read it.
Yeah, I think it's in that letter. The letter's probably the best evidence of that, because that was the letter of no occupancy from the city. That's the best, I think it references the code section, but that's the city saying no occupancy,
Yeah.
so.
Y que la carta que te enviaron de no ocupación, que también es una prueba de que tienes que elevar la casa para el banco y para el seguro. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have a
and I
good day.
think, I
Thank
think I
you.
can speak for us, we wish you well, and we hope you get it resolved.
Thank you.
Well, I guess if there's no further business, we'll adjourn at 10:04.
That's a sexy.